SIGM 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Tim Buckley, Lafayette Daily Advertiser, joins us now. Talk a little Ragin' Cajuns, Louisiana football. And Tim, this is a team that returns a ton of people. They returned their coach, Billy Napier, who, honestly, there's a lot of jobs he could probably walk in and say, I'd like this one, and they'd take him right now. Is this peak level optimism for the Ragin' Cajun season this year?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they're going in ranked 23 in both polls. First time they've been nationally ranked to start the season. They're coming off a 10-1 season with only the Sun Belt loss to Coastal Carolina. Billy Napier really kind of has this not just this team, but the whole program churning. And like you said, they are loaded with returnees. They only lost 2 starters. Now, to be fair, they did lose their top 2 running backs. Elijah Mitchell got drafted by the 49ers, and Trey Regis, who wasn't drafted but is making a little bit of noise in the Raiders camp. So they're stacked on defense, and they got some running backs ready to step in for the 2 that they lost. So they're really kind of stacked on offense too.
Yeah, the defense is what people will talk about the most. And look, if they beat Iowa State last year, we're going to talk about the opener with Texas here in a second. But what has been the key to that defense in sticking as tough as it has over the last couple of years?
They're just fundamentally sound. They got some great play out of the secondary. Percy Butler's on the Senior Bowl watch list, one of the starting safety. He's a really, really good one. Their 2 inside linebackers, Farrod Gardner and Lorenzo McCaskill, both really experienced kids. Farrod Gardner's one of those 7th-year super senior guys who's about ready to collect Social Security. And up front, they got at nose. They got Taylon Humphreys, an NFL prospect in his own right. He draws the double team, and that really kind of frees things up for on the edge. Andre Jones, who's kind of a lengthy get behind the line kind of guy, and Zion Hill, who's a little undersized but really is gap sound. So they really got it. A little bit of everything they need just about everywhere.
Levi Lewis, I know I mean, bus driver wouldn't be the right term for him. I think that's too little, but he does need to get a little bit better as a passer. Do you think that will come, and especially with a veteran-laden team, will it make it easier for him to take those steps as a passer?
Well, there's no doubt that's one facet of the game that needs to be improved, and they especially had issues connecting on the deep ball last season. They hope they can do a little bit better job at that. They played 3 true freshmen last season, probably before they were really ready. They're kind of forced in because of injuries. Those guys are a little more experienced. That'll help. They got some of those other guys back and healthy, like Peter LeBlanc and Jalen Williams. If he can get things connected on the long ball, perhaps with LeBlanc, or one kid who's having a really good camp is Golden AK. Went to Oklahoma hoping to do track and football. He's a triple jumper. Did the track part of it. The football part never panned out. He's a Louisiana kid, came back home. So he's got somebody with the speed that, could be the deep threat there. And they picked up one other receiver that, maybe potentially it'd be worth keeping an eye on when they're in Austin, by the name of John Stevens Jr., also a Louisiana high school kid, kind of coming back to the home state after spending a couple seasons at TCU.
Schedule-wise, they open up at Texas, and I want to talk about that. But this lines up for them pretty well, doesn't it, as far as where their trap games are, where the teams that might jump up and bite them are?
Yeah, I think so. They don't get what they really want, which is the rematch with Coastal Carolina. Like I said, that was their only loss last season. They were supposed to play in the Sun Belt championship game. Cajuns champion of the West, Chanticleer's champions of the East, and they had a COVID situation at Coastal, so they didn't get to play that one. Cajuns found out about that only after having flown all the way to South Carolina, which they were not real thrilled about. Then the Sun Belt schedule comes out, and there's no regular season meeting between Coastal and the Cajuns, which would have been the highlight of their regular season, except for arguably the Texas game. But yeah, it does. It all falls now. Look, they're in the Sun Belt, so they got the quirky Thursday games and all that nonsense going on. They've got Ohio as the MAC in the third week on a Thursday. They go up to Arkansas State on a Thursday. There's some other ones in there, but it does fall pretty good for them.
All right, that first game against Texas, how much does the Iowa State game from last year give them confidence that they can roll in and beat a team in a Power 5 conference? And look, the Iowa State game, Iowa State's the one who had to come back in that one and try to make it close. It wasn't the Ragin Cajuns coming back and winning that game.
Yeah, that game was a weird game, to be honest with you. The Cajuns kind of did it largely because of special teams. They had Chris Smith, who's going to be their number one running back this year, return a kickoff for a touchdown. They had Eric Guerra, who also is back, one of the cornerbacks, return a punt for a touchdown. And they really relied on the special teams to get it done. But by the same token, you're right, they did kind of control things in that one. So yeah, it gave them a ton of confidence. They really hadn't had a signature type, Power 5 win, for ages. I mean, maybe going way back to when they upset Texas A&M at Cajun Field way back when. So that was something it was a good boost to confidence. It gave them a little national attention. It got them some, into the polls and everything. They maintained that. And here you are.
All right, with every guest, of course, since we're emanating here from Big 12 country, we have to ask about realignment. The Sun Belt's never mentioned in any of this realignment. It's always the AAC. How do Sun Belt teams like Louisiana see themselves in the realignment landscape as in the post Texas Oklahoma let's start the apocalypse move?
Well, it depends whether you're talking about Louisiana, the administration, Louisiana, the super fans, Louisiana, the realists, Louisiana, the hopefuls. Fans would love, and the fans, arguably, somewhat delusionally, think that they're instant contenders to get into a Power 5 conference if all this realignment, gets a little bit crazy. I think they're doing a little bit more of a slow roll administratively. Their messaging is we want to be the best we can be, which who knows what in the heck that means. Other than they still got things to do. They got a major stadium, expansion project that's planned, but it's not shovels in the ground yet. They got other facilities upgrades that they're wanting to do and that they're in the middle of fundraising for. They're not. Athletic director Brian Maga said they're not, knocking on doors and making phone calls, just because Texas and Oklahoma are going to the SEC and they think that, there's something immediately for them. They like to play a little bit more conservatively. So we'll wait and see, how it shakes out. Might they be impacted? Might the Sun Belt be impacted because there's some sort of trickle-down effect? We wait and see.
Well, with the 12-team playoff coming, too, it's kind of for, like, teams in the Sun Belt, the AAC, the Mountain West, whatever, it seems like that can't come soon enough so that some of them can maybe prove their worth because of being able to get in the playoff. One of the things Bob Bowlesby thought there would be no need for expansion with a 12-team playoff and no need for coaches to hop to bigger jobs because you'd have a better shot no matter where you were. Obviously, that's changed slightly, but with the 12-team playoff coming, doesn't that allow them to grow their brand a little bit? Because, last year they probably would have been in it.
Oh, I don't know that they would have been in it, but they want it. They want it bad. They want it yesterday, which may not happen now, especially if you get this coalition of some of these Power 5 conferences that's kind of being bandied about. And, they're obviously not for that. But yeah, the Cajuns would love it. The team that would have gotten in last season, because they finished 12th in the final CFP rankings, was Coastal Carolina. Cajuns ended up 19th in that, so they were kind of, they were in the neighborhood. But yeah, they think that this would give them a legitimate path that, let's be real, they just don't have right now.
Tim Buckley, Lafayette Daily Advertiser, with us here on Sikkim 365 Radio on 365 Sports. Tim, thanks so much for joining us, and I really enjoyed it.
All right, you got it. Have a good day.
That's Tim Buckley here on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. We're back with more after this.